Welcome to On Track. I'm Aisha Jaffer. Just 30 minutes south of Louisville, Bernheim Arboretum and Research Forest offers more than 16,000 acres of wild forest, gardens, lakes, and art. It is the largest privately held forest dedicated to conservation and education in the eastern United States, and it was founded in 1929 by Isaac W. Bernheim with a simple mission: connect people with nature. Today, we're diving into why this forest matters, its beauty, its science, and its role in Kentucky's future. Joining me are two stewards of this land. Mark Wourms is the president and CEO of Bernheim. Since 2008, he has led efforts to expand Bernheim's mission, visitor experience, and regional visibility. He holds a PhD in ecology and animal behavior from Boston University, a bachelor's degree in botany from Ohio University, and a business certificate from New York University. Mark, thanks for being here.
It's great to be here.
And we're also joined by Andrew Berry, Bernheim's Director of Conservation. He leads stewardship and land conservation, including habitat restoration, invasive species removal, and engaging research partnerships with scientists worldwide. Andrew, thanks for being here on Track.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Mark, so I'm going to start with you. What is Bernheim's origin story? Tell us a bit about its namesake.
Oh, well, Isaac Wolf Bernheim was an incredible individual. He came over to the United States at the age of 17 from Schmieheim, Germany. And he came over as an immigrant with $4 in his pocket, landed in New England, started selling Yankee notions off of his back, scrub brushes and soaps and things like that. Made his way down to Paducah, where he met up with his brother. And, they thought they had a job lined up and didn't, but they ended up scraping together some dollars, bought a horse and wagon, started selling moving bourbon barrels. Well, they quickly figured out that the way to make money is to fill those barrels and sell that stuff. And so they bought an old decrepit distillery and started the I.W. Harper brand bourbon. I.W. for Isaac Wolf, and Harper was just a good old American-sounding name. And so it became a very good selling bourbon. One of the first to go throughout the United States, one of the first to go overseas internationally. And at the age of 65, Isaac Wolf Bernheim wanted to give back to the people of Kentucky for allowing him to live the American dream. And so he bought 12,500 acres way out south of Louisville. And at the time, it seemed like it was far out. But now we know it's only 20 minutes south. But he bought it, and he knew that nature was regenerative, and it was good for all people. And so this logged, mined, overgrazed, cut-up land for homesteads, he put it together and said, okay, this will someday be a place of beauty and healing for all people. And so in 1929, he started the Isaac W. Bernheim Foundation, gave this land to the foundation, and said, I want it to be accessible to all people, regardless of race, creed, or economic status. That is forward thinking. That's land philanthropy, and that's, of course, just an inclusive thought process way back then.
And it has staying power nearly 100 years now.
Yeah, 96 years, and we're getting ready for our centennial in 2029.
I bet. Oh, my goodness. So, what role does a forest of this size and mission play for Kentucky, particularly here in the Louisville region, and what kind of benefits does it provide to the community?
Well, so Bernheim really is a place that people in Louisville have looked to for decades now as a place to get out of the city, to come down, to connect with nature. We're just 25 minutes south of Louisville from downtown. And really, when you go through the gates there at Bernheim, it's kind of entering into a different world. You leave the hustle and bustle of the highway behind, and you really get a chance to interact in the Arboretum, around the lakes, the prairie, the collections. But then beyond that, we've also got 16,000 acres that extends up into the Forest Hill Drive area, where you can hike on over 40 miles of trails. You can just find quiet places where you can't hear any traffic, can't hear any of the sounds of the city. And really, we've been working to restore that forest, create a mature forest that protects a wide range of biodiversity. We've got everything from over 230 species of birds, 50 species of mammals, 80 species of snails, and on that we protect there at Bernheim. Really, it's a place that provides more than just a destination. I always say, as Mark said, Bernheim started off as a person, then it became a place, and now really it's become kind of an idea, and kind of a environmental ethic that a lot of people latch onto. We've got thousands of members and other people that look to Bernheim, but really also you look at the broader implications of what Bernheim is in terms of the ecosystem services we provide for the community. A lot of people live downwind of Bernheim, and so we produce a lot of clean air. We sequester a tremendous amount of carbon every year. We mitigate the heat island effect that we have here in Louisville. We reduce the strength of storms that blow over Bernheim. And we provide clean water downstream, and we provide biodiversity and wildlife for people to enjoy. Really, really important benefits for the communities around Louisville.
Yeah, those are incredible benefits. And I know this is kind of a cheeky, curious question. You mentioned the snails, and there's a rare snail in there, isn't there?
There's several rare snails.
Okay, yeah. I
several
just had
rare
to say
snails.
it.
Yeah. And those are, some of them are large, but the other ones are micro snails that you really have a hard time finding. But, from land snail surveys across the eastern United States, we've realized some of these are extremely rare.
That's really cool. Well, like you're talking about all these ways that people can connect with nature. I know that is Bernheim's mission. What does that look like in practice, and why is that mission really important to your space?
Well, Bernheim has about 300,000 visitors a year, and they come for all kinds of reasons: hiking, fishing in some of our lakes, picnicking, enjoying activities. But Bernheim offers educational programs for everyone, from literally cradle to grave. There's a lifelong cycle of learning at Bernheim. We also have events throughout the year that are really fun and educational. And so people come for social interaction, but they also come to learn about the environment, learn about all kinds of wonderful creatures like the armadillos we just discovered at Bernheim. They come to understand that nature is good for them. Spending time in nature is good for your physical, mental, and spiritual health. And so we're very proud of the fact that everybody can find something at Bernheim to enrich their lives. And Bernheim, as Andrew said, is not just a place, it's an idea. And so we spend a lot of time out in the communities, out in the region, doing everything from tree planting to caring for living roofs, to working with organizations to ensure children are learning how to play naturally, to building that lifelong love of nature.
I love that it expands behind the walls of Bernheim, especially that idea of getting kids in nature too, because I feel like when I was young, we used to just run around in the dirt, and they're like, go free. And I don't, and that doesn't happen as much anymore.
No, it does not. And that's sad for two reasons. One is out there eating dirt and playing and getting dirty is really part of health. It's really good for children's health. The other is, of course, when kids are playing naturally, they're creating their own rules. They're breaking their own rules. They're figuring out how to interact socially. They're figuring out risk. If a child doesn't learn that they can or cannot walk across a log and fall off, well, how do they know that they're not supposed to walk across the rail on a bridge? This is something you have to learn. And so Bernheim provides all of that with our Playco system, a 17-acre natural play area, perhaps the largest in the United States. So there's something for everybody.
And I recently attended the Connect Festival, and that was just all play, but also interaction and learning that space. And it was cool because I walked up to one of the forest creatures, Elaine, with her headphones on in the silent disco, but it was not silent. Everybody was singing the Pink Pony Club, and it was all kids, and it was really cool to see those interactions with nature. Now, Andrew, I want to turn to you. You oversee stewardship of all these acres of land, thousands of acres of land. So what does that look like on the ground day to day for you?
Yeah, so it's everything from just keeping the trails in good shape for our visitors to providing a diversity of habitats. We do a lot of work on converting lawn spaces in Bernheim to prairies. Prairies take a lot of management, but the benefits are incredible. Everything from the grassland birds to the pollinator species, the monarchs, and then you got the bats and all these other animals that are drawn into these open habitats. So they're incredibly important for wildlife. We've also got wetlands that we manage and construct. When I started at Bernheim, we had about 80 wetlands, and one of our big goals is to add over 100 wetland pools over the next few years. So we're building new habitats. We're working with partners. We've got a major stream restoration underway over on Harrison Fork, where we're restoring about a mile of bottomland that was formerly in agriculture, and we're putting that stream habitat back together with the runs, the riffles, the pools, and revegetating it and reforesting it. And partners are a big aspect of what Bernheim is all about. You can't do this kind of work alone, and we work with state agencies, federal agencies, other nonprofits, but also we have a lot of neighbors on our 60 miles of boundary, and neighbors have been a critical force in us being able to do what we do. Here in the 21st century, biologists realize that you've got to connect these protected areas up so that the wildlife and plants have room to expand, to respond to climate change, to adapt. And we've been able to work with some of our neighbors around Bernheim to create conservation easements and protect new properties that are essentially wildlife corridors. In the last year, we've protected about 1,800 acres around Bernheim. Several of these are 800-acre tracts that now have conservation easements, protect that land in perpetuity, and Bernheim works to steward that land and to ensure that the habitat remains, high quality. It's a little bit of everything, and also some of it's not so glorious. It's a lot of picking up trash, and cleaning off roads and picking up sticks and responding to the storms and other instances that happen out there. But it's an incredibly rewarding job. Bernheim is a place like no other, and to be able to think that we're going to be keeping that around. A big part of what we do is we work with so many partners in the community, corporate partners. There's a lot of growth happening around Bernheim right now in the I-65 corridor. And Bernheim, sees that as good for the economy, good for our communities, but also we realize that conservation has got to keep pace with that development. And as the development continues to grow, Bernheim's got to continue to grow with it, to provide space for wildlife, to provide green backdrops, to provide clean air. And we've been working hard to do that, and that's one of our central missions right now.
Well, like you were saying earlier, Mark, the origin story is about 12,000 acres, and now you're at like 16,000 acres. So it seems like growing at a pace. And like you said, like that's great for so many reasons, including places for wildlife to roam that's connected, and continuing to get those purchases to expand all this nature is just pretty incredible. And I know some of the restoration processes include practices like prescribed burns or my favorite, invasive species removal that actually help the forest thrive. Can you explain those a little bit, like how they contribute in a positive way?
Yeah, so prescribed fire has been a tool that biologists have been using for a long time. And basically what you're doing is you have a lot of species that are dependent upon some kind of a moderate disturbance. That might be white oak, or it might also be something like the bobwhite quail. So fire is a tool to set back some of these habitats, to create some openness in them so that things don't get so cluttered, and allow some of that regrowth of vegetation that benefits all the species. And then the invasive species removal, of course, you've got these native forests that are, having some new introductions of species, which in some cases are able to outcompete and push out some of these native pollinator species and some of the tree regeneration. So just working to make sure that, you're never going to get total eradication of some of these, but suppressing them to a point where some of the good species are able to hang on and continue to flourish too.
We like to think that the world is a big place, but honestly, it's getting smaller every day because of people moving and commerce moving across the globe. So invasive species are actually becoming more numerous. Now, the advantage of Bernheim is we have large, unbroken tracts of land, and that's harder for a strange beetle or a new plant to come and get established in. And so it's the edges of Bernheim and the public areas of Bernheim where the invasive species are the most severe. And that's where our team, and we have wonderful horticulture and natural areas team who take care of those invasive species. But the world is getting smaller. And so we all have to be aware that what we do in our own backyards, what we plant, what we preserve, what we tear out as weeds, it's all important. Everybody can make a contribution to nature in their own yards and gardens. And so that's one of the things we try to educate our guests about as well.
Yeah, that's a fair point for sure. It's spreading, and it's cool that you have those unbroken lands to help protect it.
Yes.
Do you also have volunteers that come out too for these kinds of things?
Oh, we have the most incredible volunteers. We have volunteers who do educational programs along with our professional staff. I tease that their backgrounds, the education we give our volunteers, is so good. I already have a PhD. I don't have to get another one by going through our volunteer program for education. They're just very knowledgeable naturalists. We have volunteers who come out and do invasive species removal, and they're out there in all kinds of weather just helping us control those nasty things. And we have volunteers who help with giving directions, how to get to the forest giants in the giant forest, how to find Heart of the Forest, our new 27-foot tall Tin Man. I mean, it's just incredible what these volunteers do.
Well, we'll be back in just a moment. You're on track with Louisville Public Media. Welcome back to On Track. I'm Aisha Jaffer, and we are learning about Bernheim with the president and CEO, Mark Wourms, and the director of conservation, Andrew Berry. So Bernheim doesn't just support science, as we said, you also support artists. Why is that interaction between nature and art important?
Oh, well, art is looking at the world in a different way. I'm a scientist. And when we work with artists, and we've had artists in residency programs for 45 years. Last year, we were voted the second best artist in residency in the United States. We only lost to the National Park Service. So, that's pretty good competition. But what's great is art is a way to touch the heart and the mind. Our curator of arts in nature, Jenny Zeller, often says, sometimes facts don't touch people. They haven't done that much for moving people to be involved with the environment. On the other hand, when you touch someone's heart, and art can do that, they get engaged. And so that's what we do with the Heart of the Forest, our 27-foot tall Tin Man, who's holding his heart. And now he's put down his axe and has said, I'm not cutting down forests anymore. They used to be scary places to be exploited. Now we know they are life-giving with clean air, clean water, rich biodiversity, beauty, good for everybody's health. And so our Tin Man is welcoming everybody to nature and everyone to Bernheim. Art allows us to talk like that.
And he's not the only piece of art in the forest,
Oh,
right?
no. We've got a beautiful thing called LAND, Landscape plus Art plus Nature plus Design, an experience of discovery. And it is just that. As you walk through this new area that we've invigorated, you can find 11 landscape scale art installations. And they talk about how much water is on Earth. And it's actually a lot less than we think because the Earth is so big, the oceans are shallow. They're almost like dew on an apple. And so we can use art to put resources in perspective. We can use art to change the way you look at trees. We use art to really engage the whole person in nature.
And there's also the forest creatures, right?
Oh, forest giants in the giant forest.
Yes.
We have 3 of them, and they're fabulous.
They're iconic.
Still drawing people from all 50 states and foreign countries every year.
That's beautiful. Now, I want to turn to some challenges. I know the biggest being the natural gas pipeline from LG&E running through the Cedar Grove Wildlife Corridor. For those unfamiliar, can you walk us through the project itself, where things stand now, and the potential effects on the forest and its ecosystems?
Yeah, this is a situation that's kind of been going over the last decade, and it started with Bernheim working to acquire that Cedar Grove Wildlife Corridor. It's over 1,000 acres that in total that extends north from Bernheim up to the Cedar Grove community, and this tract in particular is about 494 acres. We purchased it in 2018 with a conservation easement on it because of the funding sources we use, the Kentucky Heritage Land Conservation Fund and the Imperiled Bat Conservation Fund, both which we were eligible for because of the exceptional natural features and endangered species on this tract. And shortly after we had purchased it and Bernheim took ownership, we were notified that LG&E had intentions to put the gas pipeline across it. It was unfortunate for all parties that we had all planned to do different things on that property. We fought the conservation easement condemnation for years. and eventually LG&E won, and now they're in the process of constructing the pipeline. They've cleared the 12 acres for it. Of that 12 acres, about 1 acre is on, or I'm sorry, of the 12 miles of pipeline, about 1 mile of it is on the Bernheim Cedar Grove tract. And, at this point, we're looking past, the condemnation and the fight to keep the pipeline off of Bernheim. And we're really looking forward towards the restoration. We see an opportunity to work with LG&E. They're going to be neighbors with us for forever now on that tract. And we'd like to see, after the construction ends this fall, we're going to have it restored into prairie habitat. We're going to work as best as we can to prevent sedimentation and erosion on that tract, to restore it into a native habitat that pollinators and grassland birds and bats and other species can use. And we're in the phase of we've got a design, we've got a species list that we've put together. We work with Roundstone Seed on these restorations, and we're just going to continue to try to work to make what was a bad situation into as good as it can be for the future.
Now, beyond the pipeline, are there other pressures like other development or climate change that pose challenges for Bernheim?
Oh, like everywhere, climate change is a existential threat to everyone. And Bernheim, by helping to preserve and protect these lands, is mitigating some of those pressures. So we continue, even with the loss of that pipeline land, we've continued adding land, as we've spoken about, with our conservation easements on neighboring tracts and purchasing lots where we can. And that is good for water, air, biodiversity, etc. Other pressures, invasive species, as we mentioned. Some of the pressures are we're a not-for-profit organization. So like every not-for-profit, we really thank our donors and members and supporters and advocates, because they are what allow us to keep nature protected, stewarded, and to connect people with nature throughout their entire lives. We work with wonderful sponsors and corporate supporters, and we're working with them so that they can also help improve their own processes and have less of an impact on the earth as well. And so, challenges are often an opportunity, and that's the way we look at it. Everybody can contribute to nature in their own backyards, into other wonderful natural organizations out there who are taking care of the environment, and to places like Bernheim.
And there's great results to that too. And I have to add my own bird nerd question. I mean, in Alaska, when I was a ranger, we would find it a rarity to find a golden eagle, but they come back to Bernheim every year, from my understanding.
Yeah, we've been tracking Bernheim's golden eagles for over 10 years now, and we've got a pair that we had tracked, and they nest up in Churchill, Manitoba, which is on the west side of the Hudson Bay. And then just a couple of years ago, we tracked another bird, a young male, and he went all the way up to Nunavut, which is the northern tip of Quebec. So really different locations, but both of these birds are coming back down to Bernheim, and it's an incredible thing to see how they use these sites year after year, even sometimes roosting in the same trees.
Go ahead.
Even at Bernheim, they come back down and find the same roosts. They find each other. It's amazing. Yeah. And we're helping contribute this information to the Eastern Golden Eagle recovery plans. And so that's, we're playing on big scale here.
It's a very unique forest for that to happen. I mean, I'm an Arctic nerd, and I know Churchill is like polar bear land.
Absolutely.
And Nunavut is just an incredible place too. That is such an incredible journey that they're making.
Yeah, and it's incredible to see how Bernheim is connected up not only to the Arctic, but also the migratory warblers and other species that go down into South America. So a wide range throughout North and South America that Bernheim is a connected piece to.
And that brings that worldwide science research to Bernheim as well. Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, this is something that I think is just like in your own personal self. Like, what is each of your favorite personal spot in the forest?
You want to do that?
Well, yeah. And so I'm really connected to Wilson Creek area. We do a lot of habitat restoration down there, and we've got some of our rare species, including, it's the center of our golden eagle activity. We actually have a place called Golden Eagle Ridge, which I go to find myself sometimes. So, yeah.
It's hard to say because I can get thrilled by watching bumblebees on, a coneflower. I can be thrilled by seeing, the streams flowing after a rain. I love the natural areas, of course. And often, just to clear my mind, I will walk Rock Run Trail, which is just a half-mile loop, but it's absolutely gorgeous, quiet, and in the spring is popping with flowers. So, it's wherever. Nature is nature.
Yeah. And so, like, looking ahead for Bernheim, what's next? Are there programs or partnerships you're especially excited about?
Oh, yes. You have to come get on Bernheim.org and check out our schedule. We have fall programs coming up. We have Color Fest coming up. We have Bug Fest coming up. We have one of my favorite times of the year at Bernheim is the winter because you can see the landscape and you can see how you're stepped out of the Ohio River Valley and into the knobs of Kentucky. There's always something at Bernheim every day. We have education programs going on. The fall colors will be exciting, we hope, this year. Something for everybody.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the fall colors. It is going to be a spectacular year. Everything is still green in Bernheim, but we're seeing a little tinge around the edges. Fall is a great time to be down there and hike our 40 miles of trails and just find yourself at Bernheim.
Well, Andrew, Mark, thank you so much for being here on Track.
It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us.
We'll see everybody down at the forest.
Mark Wourms is the president and CEO of Bernheim, where he has led its mission since 2008, and Andrew Berry is Bernheim's director of conservation, overseeing land stewardship and leading global research partnerships to protect and study the forest. On Track is a production of Louisville Public Media. The On Track production team includes Michelle Tyreen Johnson, Alex Biscardi, and Laura Ellis. Our music is by Kojin Tashiro. If you'd like to revisit this episode or explore other community-focused conversations, visit LouisvilleOnTrack.org or find us in your favorite podcast app. Have feedback or ideas for a future show? Connect with us at 502-814-TALK or ontrack@lpm.org. I'm Aisha Jaffer, and remember, when you step outside, let nature be your guide. Until next time, you're on track with Louisville Public Media.